I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in infamy as the greatest demonstration for greed in the history of our nation. 12 score years ago, a great economist, Adam Smith, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, wrote The Wealth of Minions. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of cubicle slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering indigence. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their poverty. But 240 years later, the entrepreneur still is not rich. 240 years later, the life of the entrepreneur is still sadly crippled by the manacles of taxation and the chains of regulation. 240 years later, the entrepreneur lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 240 years later, the entrepreneur is still languishing in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a bad check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the United States Collusion and the Declaration of Investments, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, rich men as well as poor men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of money. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of cubicles are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given all entrepreneurial people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Sultans is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we have come to cash this hot check and leave town before it bounces, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of Croesus and the security of insurance. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of a fast-acting laxative. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of capitalism. Now is the time to make real the promises of aristocracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of taxation to the sunlit path of refunds and credits. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of regulatory injustice to the solid rock of mogulhood. Now is the time to make riches a reality for all of Stump's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the entrepreneur's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of fortune and monopoly. The apocalypse is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the entrepreneur needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the entrepreneur is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of affluence emerges. But there is something that I must say to my people who stand on the war-wet threshold which leads into the palace of plenty. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful death. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for wealth by drinking from the cup of poverty and penury. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of bondage and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical fitness. Again and again we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical fitness with intercourse. The marvelous new misanthropy which has engulfed the entrepreneurial community must not lead us to a distrust of all rich people, for many of our rich brothers, as evidenced by their absence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their greed is inextricably bound to our greed. We cannot crawl alone. As we crawl, we must make the pledge that we shall always bounce our checks. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of financial rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the entrepreneur is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of IRS brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our wallets, heavy with the fatigue of taxes, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities with our cheap sluts. We cannot be satisfied as long as the entrepreneur's basic mobility is from a smaller scam to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for the wealthy only. We cannot be satisfied as long as an entrepreneur in Mississippi cannot cheat and an entrepreneur in New York believes he has nothing for which to cheat. No, no, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until money rolls down like waters and profits flow like a mighty yellow stream. Go back to Hollywood, go back to Silicon Valley, go back to Fort Knox, go back to the U.S. Mint, go back to the Federal Reserve Bank, go back to the ATM, go back to the slumdog millionaires and pharaohs of our richest cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of the billionaire. I say to you, today my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created greedy. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia the sons of former union bosses and the sons of former industry titans will be able to sit down together at the table of dirty deals and once again throw the working class under the proverbial bus. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of insolvency, sweltering with the heat of regulation, will be transformed into an oasis of fortune and indulgence. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin but by the content of their wallets. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its selfish plaintiffs, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of fried chicken and smoked bacon one day right there in Alabama, little poor boys and poor girls will be able to join hands with little rich boys and rich girls and set up Ponzi schemes. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every company shall be exalted, every tax and tariff shall be made low, the loopholes will be made larger, and the crooked audits will be made more plentiful, and the regulation of the corporation shall be repealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the bank with. With this faith we will be able to sow out of a mountain of camel hair a coat of gold. With this faith we will be able to transform the appalling billboards of our nation into a beautiful symphony of mogulhood. With this faith we will be able to scam together, to sleep together, to steal together, to go to jail together, to stand up for capitalism together, knowing that we will be rich one day. This will be the day when oligarchs' minions will be able to sing with a new meaning, my company, 'tis of thee, cheap financed synergy, of thee I sing. Land where my sponsors lied, land of the politicians' bribe, from every department store, let cash registers ring. And if America is to be a great nation this must become true. So let cash registers ring from the prodigious strip centers of the Hamptons. Let ATMs sing among the mighty moguls of New York. Let cash registers ring among the dieting rich ladies of Pennsylvania. Let ATMs ring from the small-capped corporations of Colorado. Let cash registers ring among the curvaceous sluts of Venice Beach. But not only that, let clients sing among sleazy accountants of Georgia. Let cash registers ring from secret bank amounts in Silicon Valley. Let cash registers ring from every shop and store of Beverly Hills. From every mountainside, let the wealthy sing. And when this happens, when we allow cash registers to ring, when we let them ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when oligarchs' minions, poor men and rich men, dukes and sybarites, phrenologists and charismatics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old entrepreneur spiritual, rich at last. Rich at last. Thank Midas Almighty, we are rich at last. I'm Ronald Stump and I approve this hoe.
White boy, who you calling a hoe?